Good evening, Shifties. We're live. We're back. Did you miss me? Did you miss us? I don't know if you've missed him, but maybe you missed me. Maybe not. Maybe you're like, I hate this guy. Just keep scrolling. But welcome back. Welcome back to Shift the Journey. I'm your host, Tito Amogus, and I'm here to interview somebody about their career journey. And that somebody today is Chris Aragao. I forgot to confirm it with you on the
But
pronunciation.
but you just nailed it.
Okay, all right. Listen, I am a man who gets my name butchered probably daily, probably multiple times daily, and it has been that way for 50 years. So I don't think that's going to change. But it's nice to know that I can say people's names right. So anyway, yeah. So anybody out there who's watching, I want to remind you, if you're on here and you're like, oh, you know what's going on, or like, hey, I know this guy, whether it's me or it's him, the guy with the haircut like mine, maybe it's me, maybe it's him. If you want to say something, if you want to add to the conversation or just say something funny, please keep it PG. But say something in the chat, whatever platform you're on. Say something in the chat, and hey, let's have a conversation. But right now, I'm going to have a conversation with this guy. So let's dive into your career journey. So I see that you are a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps.
Yes.
Where are you from originally?
I am from East Providence, Rhode Island, and that's
Okay.
where that's where I'm from. And I moved back, so I'm back in my hometown.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. And so like when you were growing up, did you have somebody in your family who was in the military and you thought, hey, I want to join the military?
My parents are Portuguese immigrants,
Okay.
so from the Azores, the islands um, in the Atlantic Ocean. So it's not the mainland Portugal, but
Yeah.
almost like tropical islands.
Hmm.
Um, and basically, like all the my dad, my grandfather, uncles, they all served in the military over there. It was mandatory service. So I grew up around pictures of my dad uh, and serving in the Portuguese military.
Oh.
And I remember one year when GI Joe in the '80s was big. I wore it. My mom shrunk his camis, and I wore it out. Like so that
Oh,
was
that's
yeah.
cool.
So I definitely grew up in a different community than a lot of people. First generation American.
Hmm.
Um, but you know, going back, like my family had been serving in the military. I mean, I think it was like going back as far as my great grandfather was
Yeah,
in the
that's cool.
Portuguese Navy. So I always knew that was like our family history is that we served in the military.
Yeah.
So and I still have pictures. My dad served in Angola
Oh, okay.
during the Civil War.
Wow.
Um, so
That's
um,
interesting.
yep.
Yeah, I'm also like a legacy military, person, except it skipped one generation. Like my parents did not join the military, but both my mom and my dad, their dads were in the U.S. military in the Philippines, right? And so, quick like side note, I had a client one time who was in Taunton, Mass, right? And and I met up with a friend there, and she was like friends with, or she was friends with. She brought her like her boyfriend, and he's like from that area, and his last name is Souza, right? And so he's telling me about like this is a very lots of Portuguese people here and this and that, and then he was talking about linguiça. He's like, you got to try it, and I was like, okay, I don't know, I'm only here for like I was only there for like 2 days, but I went to the client site like way early, and then I had like a little bit of breakfast at the hotel, and it was just not great. And I found this little diner, and so I walk in this diner, and I look on the menu, and they got linguiça. I was like, hey, I'm gonna eat that. So I had eggs and home fries and linguiça. Good.
Yeah, it's good
Yeah,
stuff.
Good.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Like it. All right. So, so I see that you're in the Marines for 4 years. You were in Camp Pendleton. Did you like San
Yep.
Diego ish there?
Yeah, San Diego was beautiful. I had the choice after MOS school. I was an LEV mechanic, but a really terrible one. But they gave us the option of going to North Carolina to Camp Lejeune, Camp Pendleton, or overseas. And I picked Camp Pendleton first, West Coast first, and then Japan second. And I was from the East Coast, so I was like, I kind of want to go a little bit further than North Carolina.
Yeah.
Although North Carolina is not Rhode Island, I wanted to go
Right.
somewhere further out. So I ended up getting Camp Pendleton. Went out there in December 2001.
Hmm.
Reported out there, and then Iraq twice. But yeah, San Diego is beautiful,
Oh yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Cool. So, did you have a plan like, oh, I'm going to go in for 4 years, get my GI Bill, and I'm going to school, or was it like something you decided about, like the length of your service? When did you decide that you're going to get out?
It was pretty much going to be a 4 year deal. My father had passed away before I signed up
Hmm.
unexpectedly, and basically signed up for 4 years. At that point, I was in school, did about a year, and I was just not ready to continue on with school at the point.
Oh
So I
yeah.
figured I might as well go do something, figure it out, um, get some discipline, and
Yeah.
uh, shocking everyone, I joined the Marines, and but it was a great choice.
Yeah. What would you say is like made it like a great choice?
I think that it wasn't. I think that it was because it was a challenge, right?
Oh, okay.
And I think when you go through it and all the training and the friends you make and all that, um, I think that the this quote's always kind of like thrown out there, but it's like the obstacle is the way.
Hmm.
It's that like I don't know if it was Marcus Aurelius or whatever, but it's like it was a challenge for me, but to get through that, it made me better at dealing with adversity.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. You know what they call that when you make like deep, long lasting friendships through hard times? It's called trauma bonding. But yeah, man, definitely. That's cool. So what was your plan? Like, 4 years and done. You decide you're gonna move back home and go to school.
Yep.
Did you have a like a deep degree program in mind?
Not really. I when I got back and I applied to some schools in the Boston area, and I got into UMass Boston, and I thought I was going to be a lawyer.
Okay.
I thought I was really going to go get a law degree after my undergrad. So I took philosophy courses and law courses,
Hmm.
a lot of logic and philosophy of law, and even wrote like legal briefs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I thought I was going to be going into law school. Then I applied, and then I saw the financial aid packages,
Oh,
which is really just like a finance plan.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really like, hey, here's some aid. It was more like, here's how you're going to finance it. And I was like, oh yeah, I can't do that. So I ended up getting a assistantship to go to Northeastern and get a degree in public administration and master's. So after grad, I did that and started working for the government.
Yeah. So, what kind of? So I was looking, and that first one was not really that was not like an analytical position. What was that? What was that position like?
So I worked a lot in terms of working on claims.
Oh, okay.
And I started working my way up, working in the claims process. And uh, at first I was processing, but then I was pretty accurate at it. So then I kept moving up, and then after a while, it was working as a supervisor. And at one point, I had about 30 something reports.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so when you're kind of thrust into that, you kind of have to get good at data,
Oh,
just to
yeah.
kind of keep track of workload management, people's
Right.
leave. Like, so all of a sudden, um, I'm trying to, you know, pull in all this reports, merge them all, and
Wow.
then try to make some sense of it. So I got pretty good at that.
Mhm.
And then I started coding. I started learning
Yeah.
how to code, and then after that, I was done.
How do you like just and then I just started coding. You just like roll out of bed one day and go, you know what? I think I'm gonna start doing some Python.
No, it was more. It's more probably a little bit more out of frustration.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because you just spend a lot of time doing something, and you want to free yourself up. You don't want to be chained to a chair, right?
Yeah.
You want to, especially if you're managing a bunch of people, you want to be out on the floor. You want to be talking to people, being present in meetings,
Mhm.
um, not not glued to a monitor and basically just shifting bytes around on your screen. You don't want to be doing that.
Mhm.
So I definitely I think something that I like doing is breaking down processes and then trying to see like where the choke points are and see how I can automate it as much as possible. So that at one point I ended up taking some community college courses on coding because I
Okay.
still had some post 9/11 GI Bill money left,
Yeah.
and I coded a program that combined a couple processes, and it got decisions out a little bit faster.
Mhm. Cool. And so then as you were like moving up, did you see like like an analytics role or like an automation role that you said, "Oh, you know what? I want to go into that." Or did it just like was it like organic that you like grew into something or did you have to lateral somewhere?
Well, I think it was more. I fell into the moonlighting data analyst where it's not your first job, but like you end up doing it on the side.
Yeah.
And I was one of those people, and there's usually one in every office that they're not IT, but they're shadow IT.
Yeah.
Um, and it was honestly at my office, if it was me or this woman I work with, Sarah, or it was Kelly, and we would compare notes to be like, okay, who asked you for what, and we try to, we'd push a lot of stuff out, but it was more like, just figuring out hard problems with no budget because
Yeah.
we didn't have any budget
Yeah.
and what we could do with. So it was a lot of that.
Yeah. So how were you solving problems with no budget? What were you using? Like tools wise?
Tools wise,
Yeah.
so it was a lot of Excel, obviously.
Hmm.
Um,
Makes the world go round. Tools come
yeah,
and go. Excel is always gonna be around.
yeah. I mean, I've had friends basically replace a whole letter generation system with Excel and Word
Oh my gosh.
and like scraping source systems and pushing stuff out automatically and uploading it to the system of record just using Excel and Word.
Wow.
Yeah, so there was a lot of advanced coding and Visual Basic for applications, and
Yeah.
that's how I started and share a lot of heavy SharePoint
Yeah.
back then. Um, yeah, just those two things. You'd be surprised what you could do.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'll be surprised. I've seen some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it depends on how what the source of the surprise is. Whether it's like, oh, this is really good, or wow, that worked. You know.
Oh, I've seen both sides of like, and some of them, like I didn't create them and I inherited them, and I'm like, why, what is this? Why? And then other times I'm like, you ever create an automation or visualization, and then like I don't know, months, years go by, and then you go back to it, you go, oh, what was I thinking? Yeah,
Yeah.
why did I do that? You know, oh,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
Definitely.
travel through time and go punch myself in the mouth. Stop it!
Just like a dog. No. No.
No, yeah, with a squirt gun.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I see that you have worked at several different stops in civil service. Can you tell somebody? So, like, coming out of the military, I decided, hey, I'm going to go the corporate route. I had friends who, went to school or just like own businesses, but lots and lots and lots of my peers who went to civil service. And so, like coming from my side, I've never experienced that whole process of like applying and interviewing and all that stuff. Can you give me some insight into what that's like? What's the process like? Where does it start?
Well, a lot of times it's people just applying to USA jobs. They find a posting, they go to a job fair, career fair. Depending on the hiring authority, means different things.
Hmm.
So if you have a direct hire, that means that they can onboard you faster, and there's less restrictions on how they can move you aboard. There's Veterans Recruitment Authority, where it's they can also hire you almost as easily as a direct hire. Um, and your probation period is a 2 year probationary period. I was hired under Veterans Recruitment Authority, and started in Boston. And the way I actually worked my way into civil service was I took a very low position job, and then basically it was like I think it might have been a term job, summer job,
Okay, yeah.
while I was finishing up my bachelor's, and then that turned into a student career experience job where I could basically set my hours during while I was in graduate school, which then turned into a full time, legit, like, this is a career position. So
Hmm.
my path was, I had started pretty low on the totem pole, but
Hmm.
just by getting my foot in the door, showing that I was capable, showing that I was hardworking, I was able to kind of move up and then get that final position. So for somebody that you know spent 4 years in the military, just finished up high school, their bachelor's degree, and want to go into civil service, that's a great way of doing it. Um, and it was I probably from those 10 positions, I probably spent a year in those positions together, and then I was already into a career
Hmm.
position.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so I've had people tell me before, they're like, "Oh yeah, I applied for a position. It's probably going to take a year to get." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, I think it varies depending on the agency and what their processes are. And it also depends on like how many people applied and things like that.
Hmm.
But I think generally that's probably outside of the norm, a year. But the government's so big, I can't say that's not, never happened, right?
Right. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely. And yeah, I know that it's like the like resumes look different. I have a friend who works in civil service. I live near an Air Force base, and it's an Air Force training base. And I have a friend who retired, and then she like works in civil service as an instructor over there. And she sent me a copy of her resume or something, and I was like, "Holy cow! It looks completely different." The totally different. I don't even know how to describe it. I was just like, okay, that's different.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're trying to get away from it now. Like if you go on the USA Jobs website, they're saying federal resumes need to be limited to 2 pages max. So yeah,
How long's yours? 12 pages?
no, 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 no. It's nowhere near that long. It was at one point probably because
Oh my
you
gosh.
know, I think back, back before this change that they put up on USA Jobs, it was just like document everything for the most
Oh
part.
yeah. That's so like government, like reminds me of like military. Document everything. Especially if you got to deal with the VA. No, I'm joking. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. If you're in the military, you're planning to get out, make sure everything's documented.
Yeah,
Oh man. So like you're a representative, right? That's I thought that's what that was. Like um so I'm sure you like going through claims and stuff. So are you like processing claims? You what is that really?
yeah. For the first part of my career, I was processing,
Yeah.
but I got into management,
Yeah.
did some
Yeah.
appeal work, and then really got into um, automation type stuff and innovation with some
Yes.
friends.
So like as far as automation goes, what is your go-to? What is your tool or your whatever? What's your weapon of choice? What do you use?
Well, well, right now I work in as a Microsoft Dynamics um, developer. I
Okay.
do a lot of Power Platforms, so when I'm doing when I'm working on things, I'm really just using stuff like Power BI, Power
Hmm.
Automate, Power Apps,
Hmm.
Canvas apps, model-driven apps, all those things. So it's a lot of that, but at the same time, you end up getting these like one-offs where it's like, well, you can't really do it with this, so now I have to figure it out with PowerShell or maybe even Python as well.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so it's a lot of hard cases in terms of like figuring out how the best way to do what they're asking for.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I had like 5 years of experience with Tableau, and then like more recently, like I used Power BI a little bit in the past, and then more recently gotten really into it. And it's interesting, like the things it can do versus like the things that Tableau can do, and like what's native and what's not native. And it's like, oh, I have to come up with a different solution because it doesn't like that. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
I always try to think of it this way, like Tableau. Let me see if I can explain this well. This is my opinion. The Tableau was built from the perspective of the person making visuals, right?
Right.
So it was geared towards that individual user that wants to put out compelling visualizations to tell their
Right.
story, right?
Mhm.
Power BI to me came from the other spectrum. It was the IT person that has to manage all this data and they need to push this data and do these calculations, these very difficult calculations that might have to deal with different contexts. And they
Mhm.
want to do it at scale.
Yeah.
So where one thing excels on the front end, the other one excels like on the back end
Yeah.
in terms of what Power BI can do. So me personally, in Power BI, I could write Power Query all day.
Really.
I just really really love it. Yeah.
I I need you after the show. I need you to send me some tips and tricks.
Yeah.
Because like learning that stuff. It's funny because like I had my last job in the Air Force was a data analysis job, right? And it's like we had a data warehouse. I was trying to remember what it was. I can't even remember what it was. And we had Excel and PowerPoint. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. It is not fun being the only analyst in a unit or department, whatever you want to call it, where we had to deliver a quarterly report that was like 70 slides, 70 slides, 70 PowerPoint slides. Ah, so and they're all it was all like, you know, embedded worksheets. I'm like, it was awful. It was really awful. And doing the analysis and all that stuff. Oh, hey, Aaron. Aaron, how you doing, Aaron? Haven't seen you in a long time. Been working with Power BI for 5 years. Really love the software because it gives you so much flexibility. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely it's not a bad thing. It's definitely a good thing. It just it's funny because like when I was learning Power BI, I had some Tableau dashboards, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I could do that. And it's like, let me see what Chat GPT says. How can I do that? And it's like I got to do like these 50 steps to get that. I'm like, how about I think of a better way to visualize this thing without having to do these 50 steps, right? So yeah, I get it. But yeah, yeah, the 70 slide deck was not great, but like one thing I did learn in that whole process was there were a couple of people who were civil service. I was in like this mixed unit, I was active duty, and there were a couple civil service people that were in the spot there and trying to do these like calculations, and they're like, writing stuff down or whatever. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure Excel has like capabilities where you can like add things and like
Yeah.
do calculations. I learned a bunch of stuff and like automated a lot of the process, and it took like two people a month and a half after the quarter ended, they were finally done and they were able to present it. Then I was like, I knocked that sucker down to like a week and a half, whatever it was. And it's like, yeah, cool. But that was me, a week and a half working by myself. Terrible. Like in a dungeon, like a mushroom in the dungeon. But
Yeah.
one thing I did take out of there was like the syntax of like Excel formulas. And I took that with me into my very first job where I used Alteryx for automation. And like the syntax was so close. And so I'm
Yeah.
learning on the Power BI side, I'm learning some things are also very close, like an if statement, if, then, else, end it. And that's it, and you don't even have to put end. I was like, oh, I don't have to write end or end if. I don't have to write that. That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, Alteryx was where I started really learning like more hardcore data analytics stuff.
Yeah.
I was lucky to get a license, and at the time I was working on translating Vietnam data to like current, cleaning it up, taking the MGRS coordinates, translating it from India 1960 to WGS 1984, which is GPS coordinate.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah.
and then I was trying to map it all, and it was just you. The one thing about Vietnam is that it, it's amazing how much data there was on Vietnam because
Wow.
DoD was tracking all this stuff. But I spent over a year just trying to do it with Excel and trying to figure it out as I can, and it was just horrible. But then I ended up getting a license at work for Alteryx, and it like in a month later I was done.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. I've had that testimony as well. I mean, I'm not going to go into it, but yeah, I used Alteryx for 10 years. Anyway, but
It's so fast.
yeah, it
It's
is.
so
It is.
fast.
It's so like okay, what one small thing. Okay, so I worked for a company that would there was like people who wanted to like companies that wanted to come and be part of this thing that they were doing so that they would get lower pricing. And so there was like data sources, like 100 million rows, 200 million rows. These like these companies are bringing in like 13 months of data, right? And it's like hundreds of millions of rows, and it's like never going to happen in Excel. Never going to happen. Is 1.14 million rows is what you get in Excel. I think there's like a little bit more now, but for the majority of my life, I think it was like 1.14 million rows. But like the closer you get to 400,000, the worse your computer is. It's like, oh, I got an email and then my computer crashed, right? But using Alteryx, man, that was a process that would take one guy like weeks to do on his own. He's eyeballing, he's like, I don't really take all this data in totality. I kind of take a sample here, sample there, and then I just kind of, make a determination. And it's like, well, I mean, if you're using Excel, you're you're gonna have to take a sample because you cannot bring in 300 million rows. And so I used Alteryx, and it, because of like the disparate data sources and all these different things, it was still like, it wasn't like lightning fast like sometimes, but minutes,
Yeah,
minutes, and it was
definitely.
done. And then it's like, here you go. Now make a determination. Sick. I was like, this is awesome. What is
Yeah.
this? And so yeah, I ended up spending 10 years using Alteryx in some of the really, really most challenging problems. It was lots of fun. But anyway, enough
Oh
about me.
yeah.
This show is not about me, it's about you. So as I see as you move on, it's pretty cool, some of the things that you got into and how like organic the growth was, and how you were able to, you know I'm so happy for you that you were able to secure an Alteryx license.
Yeah,
um
it was an argument, but we ended up they ended up
well,
getting
that,
it.
man, if you can do it, that ROI is pretty quick. But so if there's somebody out there who's like in the military, or like thinking about going into civil service, or like just pursuing a career in analytics, they came from somewhere like East Providence, Rhode Island, or they came from somewhere else, Lincoln, Nebraska. I think one thing we all have in common is that when we have our sights on something and we don't know anything about it, we'd love to hear from somebody who's in it or somebody who's like done it. What is one piece of advice that you can think of for somebody who's thinking about pursuing a career in analytics?
I would say the main thing that has helped me is learning sustainably. I've worked with people that want to learn something and they spend way too much time a day trying to watch a YouTube video or take a course, self-paced course, and they overload themselves with information, and it's hard to really like learn that way and actually retain all the information. So if you're watching YouTube videos at 1.5x and blowing through all these, you're blowing through all these demos, but you're not practicing it as you go, it's going to be harder for you to retain that information. So that's number one. Like I always used to say to people, like take small bites. Spend half an hour to an hour a day as you have time to learn. And then the main thing is not only do that, but apply it to something. And I've been lucky enough where I've been allowed to apply it to something at work. And that's definitely the sweet spot. If you can have the time to learn sustainably, but apply it to something, either where you work or at school. Maybe it's a paper for a project. Maybe you're in a finance course and you're looking at a balance sheet and you want to like you want to compare multiple years of a balance sheet for a company for this course. Hey, pop it into Tableau, pop it into Power BI, and start breaking stuff because you will break stuff at the beginning, but guess what? You can also fix it too.
Yeah.
And I think if you do things like that, it's a way better way of learning because otherwise it's just today's learning is going to get pushed out by tomorrow's.
Yep. Exactly. Hey, there we go. Now I've written it down. I've paraphrased it. I hope it captures the essence of what you're saying. Now it's on the internet forever, or until YouTube goes away, whichever one happens first. But man, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a real privilege to have you on here,
Thank
to
you.
share your experience and your knowledge, and to laugh a little bit. I feel like we laughed more in the studio. I'm a little bit sad about that, but we can't talk about everything in front of everybody. So, whatever. But anyway, listen, I'm going to be out for a couple weeks, everybody. I'm taking a little time off from the show. I got a grandson on the way. I'm so excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And but when we come back in about 2 weeks, I'm going to have my good friend Delton Chen on. Delton was sorry for him, sad for him. He is a Tennessee Knoxville, well, I mean, Tennessee Volunteers fan. Go Dogs! But in case you didn't see, there's a Georgia thing over there. Anyway, Delton was a teacher. He was a school teacher, and now he is an attorney. Speaking of lawyer, you said you had it in your plan one day to be a lawyer, but he was a teacher and then he became a lawyer. But it didn't happen overnight. But hey, tune in on 9/29, yeah, September 29th, not to be confused with the 21st of September, which there's a great song about that, Buddy, by the way. And anyway, everybody, take care. I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Chris, don't go anywhere. I'm going to see you in the studio. Everybody else, peace.